Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Philippine Geographical Society Lecture Series 2022. The PGS-LS is a project collaboration between the Philippine Geographical Society and the UP Diliman Department of Geography. The Philippine Geographical Society is proud to present the mid-year version of the PGS Lecture Series. Our lecture for today is co-sponsored by the UP Department of Geography. I am Dominica Marsolo and I will be the moderator for this event. Before we proceed, let me remind everyone about some house rules we need to observe. During the speaker's presentation, all attendees will be on mute. We are encouraging everyone to interact with the speaker by typing your comments and questions in the Zoom chat box. These questions will be addressed during the open forum session. Please note that this lecture is simultaneously streamed in the UP Department of Geography YouTube channel. Those who we cannot accommodate in Zoom can watch the session in YouTube. This session is being recorded and will be made available for viewing after the event. Lastly, just to give everyone a heads up, we will be taking a group photo before we end the lecture. Please be ready to turn on your video for that part of the program. To begin our session, I would like to call the President of the Philippine Geographical Society, Professor Emmanuel Garcia, for the opening remarks.
Thank you, Doms. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. On behalf of the Philippine Geographical Society and the UP Department of Geography, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who have joined us in this lecture. The PGS Lecture Series is a monthly gathering where we feature a specific geographical undertaking in the Philippines. The PGS-LS is co-sponsored by the UP Department of Geography. For the 6th PGS-LS this year, the important roles of cities in protecting and conserving urban biodiversity will be highlighted because local and subnational governments control development processes, mainstreaming biodiversity and incorporating nature-based solutions to local development plans greatly assist in the protection of cities from disasters and other impactful repercussions of climate change. As is the case, we developed a word cloud based on the registration keywords submitted. And for this talk, the keywords include multiplicity, variation, halo-halo, explorable, life support, complex, and threatened, among other things. We will try to ask our invited speaker later on to relate this word cloud to his lecture. Thank you once again for joining us this evening on behalf of the PGS and the UP Department of Geography. Welcome to the 6th PGS-LS for 2022.
Thank you, Professor Garcia, for the welcome message. And with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker for this lecture. Our resource speaker is currently the Biodiversity Focal for Southeast Asia and Project Assistant at ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability Southeast Asia, and an alumnus of the UP Department of Geography. Currently, he is leading the implementation of the Developing Plastic Waste-Free Cities in Iloilo City, which is also being implemented in 2 other Southeast Asian cities and 2 cities in India. Our speaker was also part of the Urban Low Emission Development Project, which is a global project co-implemented by UN Habitat and funded by the European Union and contributed to the development of the Nationally Determined Contribution Measurement, Reporting and Verification Plan, or NDCM-RVP of the Philippines. He has experience working in various development and research projects of the Philippine government. He was also engaged in the formulation of policies for adaptation and mitigation programs in the country while he was in the Climate Change Commission. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Russel James Andrade.
For that kind introduction. So let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
In what view, Dom?
Not the presenter view.
Thank you very much. So
Sure.
before I start, I would like to thank the Philippine Geographical Society and the UP Department of Geography for inviting me as your speaker for the June session of this webinar series. Again, I am Russel James Andrade, and I will be presenting to you some of the initiatives of ICLEI, particularly the nature initiatives that ICLEI as global organization is pushing in a global scale. I hope at the end of my presentation, you would appreciate how important local actions are in mainstreaming biodiversity in the world. So through the course of my presentation, you will know about what ICLEI is, what are some of the biodiversity initiatives, and I will also discuss some of the nature advocacies, tools, and action platforms of the organization to mobilize cities to commit nature pledges and contribute to the global biodiversity targets. So, in 1990, more than 200 local governments from 43 countries convened at the inaugural World Congress of Local Governments for a Sustainable Future. So during this convention, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives was founded with a broader mandate of addressing sustainability issues. In 2003, the organization was renamed and became ICLEI Local Governments for Sustainability. So ICLEI is an international association of local governments and national and regional local government organizations that have made a commitment to sustainable development. So today, ICLEI is a world-leading association of over 2,500 cities, towns, metropolises in over 100 countries committed to building a sustainable urban development. So ICLEI has 22 offices worldwide with more than 300 staff who manage local and global projects, active in more than 100 countries, impacting over 37% of the global urban population. As one of its regional offices in Asia, ICLEI Southeast Asia, where I am part of, handles sustainability projects within the Southeast Asian region. We serve ICLEI members in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in the Philippines, and in Thailand, Laos. So here we have some of the flagship global projects of the organization. One is the Green Climate Cities. It offers a comprehensive process and methodology that cities can utilize to analyze, act, and accelerate climate actions and achieve neutrality by 2050. So the 100% renewable cities and regions network, or the 100% RE, which supports the transition of cities, towns, regions to renewable energy. Right now, we have a global project on renewable energy and that I am still part of, and it's being implemented in West Nusa Tenggara in Indonesia. So we also have the Carbon Climate Registry, the world's largest database of local and subnational climate action with over 7,100 actions recorded from over 1,000 reporting cities and regions. It is also a prime data partner of UNFCCC's non-state actor zone for climate actions. So for our other initiatives, we have Cities Race to Zero, another important program of ICLEI, and the Cities with Nature platform, and the Race to Resilience. So Cities Race to Zero is an initiative that aims to build momentum around the shift to decarbonize economy ahead of the recently concluded COP26. Right now, this initiative is being continued to further support and encourage cities to decarbonize. This is in support of the recently concluded COP26 held in the UK, as you may remember. So the Cities Race to Resilience aims to strengthen the resilience of 4 billion people in vulnerable communities by the year 2030. And it is sibling campaign to the Global Race to Zero campaign, if you are familiar with it. And lastly, we have Cities with Nature initiative that recognizes and enhances the value of the nature around cities across the world. So it provides a shared platform for cities to engage and connect towards a more sustainable urban development. So in Southeast Asia, I lead the implementation and promotion of this platform. So right now we are recruiting Southeast Asian cities to join the network and commit their biodiversity pledges so that it reaches the global dialogue on biodiversity initiatives. So here are some of the other flagship programs. The tools that we have right now, the carbon registry, which is also the CDP ICLEI track. This platform is being used to disclose GHG inventory of cities. So in some cities, without the capacity to do GHG inventory, ICLEI is providing assistance to them to have their GHG inventory and report it to the CDP ICLEI track. This is also being forwarded to the UNFCCC for further further processing and to create a more comprehensive information about the global GHG emissions through, of course, the cities initiatives. So ICLEI began its work in the region in 1999 with the Cities for Climate Protection campaign in the Philippines, which was expanded to Thailand and Indonesia in 2002. Since then, ICLEI membership has rapidly grown, leading to the establishment of Indonesia office in 2014. So in 2016, ICLEI started its presence in Vietnam and Laos. So today, ICLEI has a total of 62 members with 2 institutional members, namely the APEXI in Indonesia. This is the, if I remember it right, it is an association of urban planners and other city planners in Indonesia. And in the Philippines, the League of Cities of the Philippines. So ICLEI engages at the local to global level, shaping policy and sparking action to transform urban environments worldwide. At the subnational level, ICLEI drives change along 5 interconnected pathways that cut across sectors and jurisdictional boundaries. The 5 ICLEI pathways towards low emission, nature-based, equitable, resilient, and circular development are designed to create a systemic change. The low emission development pathway reduces greenhouse gas emissions in all activities, especially in transport, waste, and buildings. So last year, I was involved in the implementation of urban low emission development strategies, a global project co-implemented by UN Habitat, funded by the European Union, which was conducted to help cities develop strategies to lessen their emissions and create a more resilient economy and create plans towards creating a net zero emission local economy. So the circular development pathway in new models of production and consumption builds sustainable societies that use recyclable, shareable, and replenishing resources to end linear model of produce, consume, and discard. So right now, like Dom mentioned earlier, we have a project called the Developing Plastic Waste Free Cities. So this project is being implemented in 5 cities in Asia, 3 in Southeast Asia and 2 in India. In Southeast Asia, we have Iloilo City in the Philippines, the Jambi City in Indonesia, and the Iskandar region in Malaysia. So in the Philippines, I am leading the implementation. And right now, I am here because we had a consultation with the city to develop a more comprehensive plastic waste management strategy that will address and prevent plastic leakage in the city through an infrastructure proposal that will be submitted to the donor for funding opportunity. So through the resilient development pathway, local and regional governments make resilience a core part of municipal strategies and prepare for new risks and impacts, taking into account the rights and needs of vulnerable sectors of society. And the last pathway is the equitable and people-centered development that builds more just livable and inclusive urban communities and that addresses poverty. So these are some of the SEIAS projects that SEIAS project for the past 10 years. I was involved in 4 of these, and some of the projects are still being implemented until today. And these are some of our ICLEI, these are some of our partners we have been working with for the last 15 years, implementing sustainability projects across the region. And still we are working with them to provide support to local governments for their sustainable transition. So ICLEI has different initiatives globally and locally. So we are actually part of some of the global dialogue. So this is being headed by the ICLEI Cities Biodiversity Center, which is lodged in the South Africa Secretariat and being headed by our director, ICLEI Ingrid Kotzi. So actually, this part of the presentation came from her. And I will try to laymanize this more so that we have we can understand it in a very understandable manner. Let me just. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Edinburgh process, this is a global partnership approach that has been developed over the last 2 years with the Scottish government leading the process of engaging the subnational and local constituency on the development of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and new biodiversity targets for 2030. So the Edinburgh process will not be possible without the tireless support and work of all partner organizations seen here, particularly ICLEI, who represent global subnational networks and organizations, national and regional governments, and agencies that work on the ground delivering for nature. So without this partnership, the Edinburgh process could not have been delivered, particularly in these challenging times, right? Through online consultations, the information sessions and of the Edinburgh process has gathered the views of the subnational constituency on the zero draft of the post-2020 framework, on the subnational plan of action and on the subnational plan of action and on a draft Edinburgh Declaration, and was complemented by a series of themed webinars on topics of importance of subnational governments and the cities and local authorities. So one of the key findings of this consultation is that in some countries, there's little or no engagement by national government with their subnational counterparts. And that is a great resource that is under-recognized and underused. But the good news is 90% of our Edinburgh process participants said that they are willing and ready to work with their national governments to deliver action for nature within the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. our consultations showed a lack of reference to subnational authorities within the post 2020 GBF, and a lack of emphasis on vertical integration, despite the reference to the whole of government approach. So sometimes the national government would like to forget to include the actions being done at the local level. So I am saying here that local actions should also be integrated vertically so that the national actions will be aligned with the local actions too. Despite the reference to the whole of government, this is particularly important when in some regions, 70% of biodiversity legislation is being implemented at the subnational and local level. So sometimes here in the Philippines, you may notice that the national policy has a disconnect when it is implemented on the ground. That's why the cities, municipalities, and other local governments is having difficulty in implementing those laws. I will give you an example. This is not biodiversity related, but in our case here in Iloilo City with the developing plastic waste free cities, the RA 9003 or the Solid Waste Management Act states that barangays should have their own material recovery facilities, but as observed on the ground, those barangays cannot put up their own barangay MRFs. So what is the result? The result is non-compliance, and the city cannot implement its programs with reference to RA 9003 because there is a gap between the implementation of the law and the mandate that they are doing. So considering that also in other national laws, for example, in implementing the localized laws on biodiversity conservation efforts, there's also an observed disconnect on these policies. That's why localizing the implementation of these laws should be done in such a way that these local governments are well integrated into the process. That's how vertical integration is very important in this kind of initiatives. So additionally, the consultations indicate that subnational governments should not just be considered as another stakeholder, and that their competency in implementation should be recognized in the framework. Also, from our consultation responses, we have been able to draw out the key views of the subnational constituency and recommendations for a renewed, dedicated decision and plan of action for subnational local governments and cities. So for the next decade, we are looking to the convention, we are aiming to adopt this decision at the upcoming CBD COP 15, which will be held in Kunming, China. So just a bit of a trivia, Kunming, China is considered one of the most biodiverse cities in the world, and it is hosting the COP 15. So maybe you are wondering what is the difference now between COP that was held in the UK and the COP that I am referring to. So this COP is related more on biodiversity. So that's why it is called CBD, or the Convention on Biodiversity Conference of Party, and it's now on its 10th edition. While the COP held in the UK is more of climate change related, spearheaded by the UNFCCC. So how will the plan of action be implemented? The plan of action is one of the results of the Edinburgh process. So firstly, the plan of action will be It will support collaboration between subnational governments, cities, local authorities, and the national governments. So the aim being to take a whole of government approach as called for in the post-2020 framework and ensure harmonization between different levels of government whilst drawing on their different strengths. It is a flexible framework which can be adapted to the situation in each country. And secondly, if the long-term approach to mainstreaming is adopted, then subnational governments should be involved in the platforms and discussions will enable better mainstreaming of their biodiversity initiatives at their levels. My laptop froze. And in order to streamline reporting on the plan of action, it is envisaged that this should be done through parties' national reports or the PNR. A high percentage of parties are already reporting on subnational activities currently, so this should not be an additional burden to the participants because we observed that some subnational governments are not really inclined towards reporting because they think that they are burdened by so many reporting in their countries, and we will be requiring another one. So this will not be the case in the Edinburgh process because they are reporting already, and they will just extract some data on that report that will be included in our platform. So information captured on the commitment platform, such as the Cities with Nature platforms and the Regions with Nature platform, can contribute to reporting efforts of subnational governments to the global dialogue for consideration in the COP. So finally, an interim review of the effectiveness of the plan of action will be presented to the COP as part of the regular review of the implementation of the objectives of the convention and its protocols, the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, and the long-term approach to mainstreaming. So over the last 10 years, there has been increasing recognition by the convention for the role of subnational governments, cities, and local associations in delivering for nature. The Edinburgh process seeks to build upon that progress and to ensure a vertically harmonized approach to delivering the post-2020 framework. And in order to demonstrate to the convention the willingness and readiness of subnational governments across the world to play a greater role in implementing the post-2020 framework, we are inviting subnational governments, cities, and local authorities across Southeast Asia to become signatories of the Edinburgh process or the Edinburgh Declaration. So here, I am now presenting to you the platform that I was talking about, the Cities with Nature platform and the Regions with Nature platform. So the Cities with Nature platform was launched to support the Edinburgh process and empower the subnational governments to commit to biodiversity goals. So the city is embarking on a journey to connect, discover, and share their experiences at their localities to a global network. They can also get support and advice from their signatories inside the platform. And they can also take action on their commitments that they have reported in the Cities with Nature platform. So it has partnered with the Nature Conservancy, IUCN, of course, the United Nations Food Program, and other global partners to make this platform possible and capture subnational actions, make a comprehensive report on this, and submit to the COP for um, for consideration in their decision-making process. So we also have monthly reports that is being posted in our website, in our social media sites. We have Twitter, LinkedIn, but we don't have Facebook. Apparently, Facebook is not really that popular in other parts of the world. That's why we don't have that. Why is biodiversity important in urban settings? So you can see here, this is actually an integrated map. So you can visit the Cities with Nature website and you will find an interactive version of this there. This summarizes the benefits of having a well-functioning urban biodiversity inside the city boundaries. So we can see here we have they can preserving biodiversity in the locality may help the city mitigate the impacts of climate change, provide food for the constituents. What else? For the health, they can also help improve mental health of different people living inside a very stressful cities, and a lot more. So that's why we are keen on mobilizing cities around the world to commit to preserve and conserve biodiversity in their localities and submit it to the Cities with Nature platform so we can create a comprehensive report on this to be submitted to the CBD. So the Cities with Nature enables local governments and their partners to integrate nature throughout their cities' plans, policies, and operations via the nature pathway. They can also access cutting edge tools that they can use to have a scientific reference or base their methodologies to integrate nature into their plans. They can also get practical guidance on key topics such as resilience and catchment management via the guides that are enumerated in our tools toolbar. They can also connect with other cities and learn from their experiences on how to create a biodiversity plan for their cities. They can also showcase their efforts, biodiversity efforts in their cities, so that other cities can see and learn from their experience also. And they can share this nature work with a global audience that the Cities with Nature has. So this is an example of the profile of one of our member cities. So we have a city profile, the city mayor. You can also include some important information about the city, your journey to in creating a comprehensive biodiversity framework in your cities. And also recently we have launched the actions platform where cities can track their progress in terms of their commitment to preserving nature in their cities. So as I have mentioned before, this Cities with Nature platforms has a comprehensive tools and resources that the cities can access, and the cities can also upload and share tools and resources to the platform for other cities to use. And these tools are mainly under these thematic areas, we have biodiversity, ecosystem, and built environment tools. We have climate change and disaster risk reduction tools, and health and social being tools. So these tools are more like um, methodologies, guide that will help the cities implement their local biodiversity efforts and integrate that in their local plans. So this is the nature pathway. It is a comprehensive roadmap that helps cities integrate nature throughout the city's plans, policies, and operations. It is based on a tried and tested ICLEI methodology, the Green Cities program that I have mentioned before, and that provides a step-by-step guidance and tools for mainstreaming biodiversity in each city. On the nature pathway, we will find useful examples of policies, plans, pathways, projects and tools from other cities and leading international organizations. You can also showcase your city's own work and inspire others by uploading relevant documents as we progress along the nature pathway. So here, just an overview of this methodology. It is divided into three major steps. One is to analyze, then act, and accelerate. So during analysis, the cities will commit and mobilize its resources to in preparation of their actions on biodiversity. Now they will conduct a comprehensive research on this and assess and create baseline of biodiversity situation in their localities. And after that, they will act on the gaps that they have identified from the baseline. And these actions, if proven successful, will be accelerated. And that is the phase 3 of this nature pathway. So this has been used by a lot of cities around the world, and this has been tested by we can safely say that this has been tried. This has been tested by a lot of cities, and it is proven true and effective to a majority of cities around the world. Yeah, so recently we have launched the action platform inside the Cities with Nature website. So cities can show what actions they are taking to help achieve global nature goals. It is recognized by the UNCBD as part of the plan of actions for cities. And it's also aligned with the 2030 action targets in the post-2020 GBF. So this is just what the website looks like. So they have a login button where the cities can log in if they already have signed up for the website. Well, it is easy to sign up for this. The cities will just sign up, navigate through the tools and resources hub. If they find useful, they can use that in their baseline development, and then they can commit their actions in the commitment action platform. So in choosing the action area, first you have to set, the city should choose which action area they are disclosing to the platform, and then they will make a commitment on that. Of course, they will also report the actions that they are taking to realize that commitment, and they have set targets. They can get back to these targets at the end, for example, at the end of the year, and see how the city is doing versus the commitment that they have pledged at the beginning of the year. So if you are familiar with the Singapore Biodiversity Index, it is now being developed by ICLEI to simplify it further. So the Singapore Biodiversity Index is a global standard on assessing the biodiversity situation in each city. So it is, well, as its name suggests, it was developed by Singapore, and it's a very comprehensive list of indicators there. So what we are doing now is we are working with Singapore to simplify this further so that we can use this index to measure or to gauge the city's biodiversity initiatives effectiveness, and perhaps suggest some modifications to them. Yeah, so the Cities with Nature platform is still a growing initiative. So the municipality of Kwale, the Banyo Council in Cameroon, the Kumba City Council also in Cameroon. Recently, we have also onboarded Iloilo City from the Philippines, and I am still working to recruit more cities in the Southeast Asian region. I have reached out to different cities in Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia to join the network so that they can also report their initiatives. So recently, one major cities in the world joined the network, the New York City. It was the 200th city to join the network, and we are very happy in this development because this encourages more cities. This will somehow send a message to other cities to join the network. And as observed on the ground, some local governments that are not cities who want to join the Cities with Nature is saying that they can't join the platform because they are not classified as cities. So to address that, we have recently launched the Regions with Nature. So this is a sister platform of Cities with Nature where countries, provinces, regional governments can join here to also report their biodiversity initiatives in their respective localities. So right now we are still in the development phase of this platform. We have onboarded some of the regional governments, but we are still focusing on the Cities with Nature now to have a comprehensive list of actions from local governments to be forwarded to the upcoming COP in December. So ICLEI has partnered with global organizations such as IUCN to also establish this platform, just like the Cities with Nature platform. It was also supported by the UN Environment Program and the Secretariat of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. So these are the founding subnational governments: Yucatan and Campeche in Mexico, Sao Paulo and Pernambuco in Brazil, Goa in India, the Community of Madrid and the government of Catalonia in Spain. In Southeast Asia, we have reached to the provincial government of San Fernando because they are currently signed up to the Cities with Nature, and I am requesting them to transfer to the Regions with Nature so that their actions would be associated with the regions and not with cities. Oh, so I think that will end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have learned something from our biodiversity initiatives.
And thank you, Russell, for your wonderful talk. Um, his lecture highlighted the important roles of cities in protecting and conserving urban biodiversity. Because local and subnational governments control development processes, mainstreaming biodiversity and incorporating nature-based solutions to local development plans greatly assist in the protection of cities from disasters and other impactful repercussions of climate change. And now, we will proceed with the open forum. We encourage everyone to type in your questions in the Zoom chat box or in our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. So, okay, so I'll be reading the first question here in the Zoom chat box. So, ayan. So, sabi ni Kelvin, hello, thank you for a comprehensive presentation. As I understood, the Edinburgh process aims for more inclusive planning, reporting, and implementing phases of biodiversity framework development at the LGU level. If that is the case, don't you think that this process alienates the participating LGU due to the multi-layered bureaucratic steps required by EP on top of their local bureaucracies?
Um, Thank you, Kelvin, right? Kelvin, for your question. Well, I don't think so that this will be alienating for some of the cities, because they are directly reporting to the platform, and these reports will be used to draft a comprehensive action platform that is being taken by the cities, that will be forwarded to the COP. So for example, kung titingnan nyo, yung COP, mga presidente yon, mga matataas na government, to call that, government, matataas na politiko or representatives of government. So in this case, we are also capturing the subnational governments which are not represented there. That's why ICLEI is pushing. That's why ICLEI and through the help of our other partners, we want to make a comprehensive report of the subnational actions, so that their decisions would not just be national level, but also that also captures the subnational actions in their decision making process. Nasagot ko ba yung tanong mo, Kelvin? Okay.
All right. No, so thank you for your answer, Russell. So we have another question. So this is from TJ Cipriano. So ang question niya is, given the implementation of Mandana's ruling this year, which gives sorry, hindi ko mabasa kasi, which gives LGUs a larger share in the budget of the national government. What steps highly urbanized LGUs must take in conserving urban biodiversity, considering that Manila has the Arroceros Forest Park?
Ano yung mga steps na kailangan nilang gawin? Well, I think one of the problems here in the Philippines when it comes to mainstreaming biodiversity is that they are treating nature-based solution as a separate strategy, where in fact you can use this strategy, for example, to address climate change, to address other problems in the city, to address hunger, poverty. So what I can suggest is that when you, well, given the Mandaras ruling, given that you are richer now. I mean, the cities are richer now because of the additional funds from the national government. They can use that fund to create a comprehensive, for example, climate change plan that will also integrate biodiversity initiatives that has co-benefits. Co-benefits meaning it has um, mitigation and adaptation benefits to the city, which nature-based solution also provides. And aside from that benefits, there are a lot of benefits that the city that nature can further give to the city. That's as I have discussed earlier, using the integrated map. Interactive map. So, sino yung nagtanong?
Si
So,
TJ.
yan TJ.
And, thank you for that. Yes. Mark Ritchie, Celsius Cuento Huachon. You're raising your
Yes,
hand.
yes. Thank you. Good evening.
Good
Thank you for
evening.
this very relevant presentation, sir. Sir, I just have two questions when it comes to framework. First one is about a transparency framework. Now, so, sir, how would you characterize the transparency framework of your organization when it comes to the data, no, numerical data being submitted? Because, some LGUs operate in when it comes to the numbers, so they extract numbers sometimes um,
Yes.
questionably, no? So is there a transparency framework for that? And sir, a follow-up question to that is, how about the qualitative input, sir, of people on the ground? Because it's also good to find out and be inclusive, no, when it comes to this kind of measures. So if the LGU declares something about the numbers, it should be complemented by those impressions and observations on the ground. And that's also a transparency mechanism. So how would you characterize, sir, the transparency framework? That's my number one question, sir.
I'm still processing your question, no? Kung transparency yung tinatanong mo, in the perspective of the organization, the results or the commitments reported in the platform is being processed and is being posted online for public viewing. So in terms of transparency, we are doing that. In our GHG inventory, for example, those GHG inventory will go to the UNFCCC. We have a transparency server there. We also have a portion of that report will also be publicly viewable. So I think transparent naman yun, ano? So in terms of inclusivity, I think we are operating on the assumption that these cities have already consulted their constituents when they formulated their actions, ano. So yes, it will be hard for us to confirm this, but we are operating on that assumption. And secondly, to verify their commitments, the platform will also require some documents, legal documents from the city, so that we have a basis on their commitments and we are sure that these commitments are being derived from those official documents of the city.
Wow, that's so great, sir. Madam Moderator, may I ask my second question if you permit?
Okay, please do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sir, about another framework related question, something to do with cultural natural heritage, because of course, these are also the mantra of conservationists, when it comes to cities. They have, of course, their separate measures, on their success when it comes to cultural heritage or preserving natural heritage like that. So how do those impact, no, sir, your system in terms of assessing, right, the city achievement, or let's say accomplishments on biodiversity? Thank you.
We don't have that mechanism, no, as a global initiative ito. So for example, I mean, it is hard to implement such kind of what do you call that, mechanism in a global scale, because we have to deal with different, for example, culture, norms, beliefs in every cities. So that's why we are simplifying these initiatives so that the cities are more, I mean, so that the policies are more localized. They can implement it more in their cities. We we have to remove very yung mga mahihirap na provisions and make it more general. No. Kung tinatanong mo yung mga differences in cultural yung mga differences in culture or in practices, that will be difficult to implement in a global scale.
I understand, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Congratulations po for your presentation.
Okay po, thank you for those answers to our participants' questions. No, so next we also have another question from a member of the audience. No, so this is via YouTube. So the question is, what are some challenges that you feel impede the furtherance of ICLEI's goals in conserving urban biodiversity?
Hello, Dom.
Yes?
Medyo naputol, sorry.
Ay, sorry. Sige, ulitin ko.
Ang connection ko, sorry.
I think, carry lang. So, ang question ng ating audience, no, member of the audience via YouTube, no, so anonymous question ito. No, so, what are some challenges that you feel impede the furtherance of ICLEI's goals in conserving urban biodiversity?
Marami. Factors. When we deal with local governments, we deal with a lot of factors, no? Political, financial, technical capacity. Tama yung tinatanong niya factors, di ba, Dom? Tama.
Oh, yung mga nag-i-impede.
Factors.
Yes.
So, and different regions, for example, the Southeast Asian region, the African region, the South American region, has its own unique problems in there. So in Southeast Asia, well, personally, because I lead the implementation of these programs in the region, no, one of the main problems is lack of commitment from the local governments, because they think that mainstreaming biodiversity is an additional burden for them, because their number one priority now is making a climate resilient cities. But in fact, using nature-based solutions, conserving nature, protecting nature will in fact help them craft a more resilient plan that has not just adaptation and mitigation benefits. So another one is, for example, dito sa Pilipinas, nahihirapan din mag-mainstream, or wala siguro tayong batas that will integrate climate resiliency. For example, in our LCCAP, the Local Climate Change Action Plans, ito yung mga action plans na dinidevelop ng mga cities dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi siya masyadong mainstream kung paano ika-craft yung mga efforts, yung mga actions ng bawat cities to develop a resilient community or city. Another one is, I think, financial. syempre, or economical, syempre, dito tayo kumukuha ng resources. So, yung cities continuously expand, continuously transform into a more like built environment. So this initiative will really, protecting your, for example, wetland will definitely impact your transformation to a more, to this kind of cities, yung mga paved cities, no? So yun yung mga nakikita kong factors na nag-i-impede dito sa goal na ito. And marami pa. Political, ganyan, kung saan yung leaning ng mga local chief executives. So nakita ko itong itong problema ng commitment more on Indonesia. Parang feeling nila, ang dami na nilang nire-report, ang dami na nilang ginagawa, tapos additional reporting pa to. Parang gano'n. So sana nasagot ko.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So another question, from an anonymous member of the audience via YouTube again. So you mentioned earlier about the challenges that you have encountered in Iloilo on urban biodiversity conservation or some similar initiatives to it. So would you like to expound on it?
I'm sorry, hindi. Yung shinare ko from Iloilo is not about biodiversity.
Okay.
It is actually we are implementing. I am leading the implementation of the Developing Plastic Waste Free Cities project in the city. So it is SWM related, solid waste management related. But since I have also discussed this with the city there, their biodiversity initiatives, one important challenges that they face here is the lack of space. And also their plan of transforming the city into a mega city, because this city is now highly urbanized and more of the land is being converted into a business districts, into a paved environment. So yun yung mga problema ngayon ng city, no? Pero what I can say is that the city is very open to have biodiversity be mainstream in their plans. So one of the most important development on this is their Esplanade project, if you are familiar with that. So they have rehabilitated the Iloilo River from black and brown. Now it is medyo black and brown na lang. So wala na rin masyadong basura. They have also rehabilitated the mangrove forest along with it. And they are creating a more livable, more walkable areas around it, so people can walk, jog, and contemplate. So I think yun yung maganda sa initiatives ng Iloilo. So doon naman sa, kung tinatanong mo naman is yung solid waste management problems na na-encounter namin ngayon. Medyo marami siya. So in our baseline and gaps analysis, we have identified, sorry hindi na ito masyadong related sa biodiversity, but I think good din ito to share with you. So merong problema sa generation. There's a lot of the rate of generation is very high. The collection is good compared to other cities, but the spillage of waste from the collection to the truck, to the transportation, to the landfill is also we have observed that there's also high level of spillage, as well as in the sorting and processing of waste and recycling. So one glaring problem in Iloilo is their institutional capacity. There's no system in place to store, manage, and record data on SWM. I think this is not a problem of Iloilo only. This is also a problem across cities around the Philippines. So, yun, marami pa yung problema nila that we are trying to address. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we also have another question. So what are your thoughts on benchmarking other countries with Singapore? Will it be fair and be able to capture the realities happening in those countries with respect to these initiatives? From anonymous member of the audience.
I think so because the Singapore Biodiversity Index has been adopted by the UN. It's just that ICLEI thinks that this, because it's very comprehensive. Marami siyang indicators na magkakaroon ng score yung city. So parang grading system siya. So ang gusto ng ICLEI is to develop a version of this biodiversity index so that all cities across the world can use this to gauge and to gauge their biodiversity situation in their localities. So yun yung workout namin ngayon. So sana before the end of the year we can launch that up and upload and include in the Cities with Nature platform so that these cities can use. Ayun daw.
Okay, sige. Thank you. And we also have another question. So this one, medyo ito. Hindi pala. Okay, sige, go. What best practices in urban biodiversity conservation that can be applied in the Philippine urban context, no, especially that the country is at risk to disasters exacerbated by climate change? What challenges confront Philippine cities in realizing conservation of urban biodiversity? From another anonymous member of the audience.
Tama na, may dalawa siyang tanong.
Yes.
Best practices and yung isa
ay yung yung challenges na yun, nako-confront ng Philippine cities in realizing conservation of urban biodiversity.
Saan ba ako magsisimula? Sa best practices that can be applied here in the Philippines. Ang hirap kasi, no? Kasi yung may mga best practices na meron sa Cities with Nature is, for example, the city of Yarra in Australia. So they have managed to preserve a small portion of land in their cities, which yung mga migratory birds, yung mga local birds have thrived. So in the Philippines naman, pwede din natin yun gawin, yung mga ganong practices. Yung mga simple lang dapat nga kahit nga urban gardening, ano na rin yun biodiversity initiative na yun. So I think when crafting biodiversity initiatives here in the Philippines, pwede tayong take ng inspiration from those kinds of initiatives abroad. But cities should contextualize those initiatives based on their present situation and for example financial capacity, technical capacity. Kasi for example yung ibang cities magi-implement ng ganitong initiative pero masisira din siya kasi maapektuhan siya, for example poverty, puputulin yung mga puno din kasi kailangan panggatong, yung mga ganun. Challenges, local governments, yun nga, as mentioned before, yung mga local governments dito, hindi rin talaga, nahihirapan sila in terms of technical capacity to mainstream biodiversity in their plans. So what we are proposing is that, simplihan lang, i-include, for example, if you are creating a climate change plan, integrate biodiversity in this. And these biodiversity initiatives included in your climate action plan can also be reported in our platform because that is still action plan on your biodiversity as part of your biodiversity efforts.
Okay, thank you. And I think that is the last of our questions. Are there any, I think, are there any other members of the audience who wants to ask a question? Or I think that's it. So, um, ayan, so to show our appreciation, the Philippine Geographical Society would like to give a certificate to our speaker for sharing his valuable insights and expertise this evening. So, this certificate of appreciation is given to Russel James Andrade for the valuable insights and experience shared as virtual resource speaker for the talk, the important cities with nature, the important role of subnational governments in the protection and conservation of urban biodiversity. As part of the Philippine Geographical Society Lecture Series 2022, held on June, June 28th, no, June 30, 2022, signed by Joseph Palis, PhD, Chair of the UP Department of Geography, and Emmanuel Garcia, President of the Philippine Geographical Society. Thank you again, Mr. Russell James Andrade, for sharing your valuable insights to the participants of today's event. Maraming salamat. And with that, we are at the end of our program. I would like to call the convener of the PGS Lecture Series and the chairperson of the UP Department of Geography, Dr. Joseph Palis, for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, thank you, Russell, for sharing with us your experiences and insights about cities with nature and on a global and local scale. I just wanted to make a few points about what you raised that are, I think, very important to raise also. I like it when you said that the local action should be integrated. It's an imperative right now. There's just no other way around it. Local knowledges and insights can definitely be used to improve or to enhance the framework that you've given us on Cities with Nature. So I appreciate what you said about that. And also, I like the part among the very spirited questions that we've had. Those are wonderful and provocative questions that I think some of them may point to the fact that cities and regions are very particular and very specific features that to generalize would be very difficult. However, those questions are also some sort of a kind of wake-up call for us to see that we cannot also necessarily just prescribe one major framework towards cities in general because of their very specific and particular characteristics. But most of all, I like the way you answered some challenges to that some cities face, especially even within the rubric of Cities with Nature, and how best to surpass or transcend some of those problems and issues. It's still a work in progress, and I think we all agree that this particular endeavor is worthy and definitely something we can all close ranks with. And we would like to know more about case studies in the future, especially the one you mentioned in Indonesia, in Kenya, and many other places, as they hopefully will provide a very different take of how this project, no matter how ecological sustainable it is, will affect them, in terms of their class, their sexuality, their various identity politics. So thank you very much, Russell, for providing a space for this type of questions and discussions to flourish. It's our aim to really
make this conversation come to life, and learn from other people as well. So the questions were just as valid. So thank you very much, and congratulations for heading this very difficult and challenging responsibility, and we wish you continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Joseph.
At this point, let me just say that next month we're going to have another session with Salikain Collective that will be given to us by Boya Torres, who some of us had the privilege of working for various workshops relating to community mapping and narratives. It's called Lahat Dapat Toolkit for Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction. It's the date is still being finalized, so we'll be issuing a publicity material pretty soon about that as well. We hope to see you there.
Thank you, Dr. Palis. Also, thank you for your participation in the Philippine Geographical Society Lecture Series. Before we end this session, we have some few announcements. If you are interested in becoming a member of the PGS, the organization is open for membership. For more information, please go to the PGS website, www.phgeographicalsociety.org. To watch previous sessions of the PGS Lecture Series, please go to the YouTube channel of the UP Department of Geography. The recorded lecture for this session will also be posted in the same channel. And may I request Dr. Palis again for an important announcement?
As you can see from the image that you're seeing on your Zoom, on your screen, by the way, it's supposed to be mysterious and provocative, but it's among the first publicity material that we're sending to our upcoming. Well, it's in November, but it's still within the year. International Conference on Geographical Studies, which is focused on emotional geographies. And many of us who went through a lot of things this year and the past year can relate to it. So we'll be sending out publicity materials for it and how to participate, and pretty much what type of papers we would want to receive from you. And it's not just papers who are interested. There will be panels, there will be plenary sessions, there will be film showing, there will be map exhibits, and plenty of conversations about it. So emotional geography is also or was chosen by the NCGS coordinators in consultation with the BOT members of the Philippine Geographical Society, because it intrigues us and is also very non-representational. So affect and emotion are just some of the stuff that we're very interested in as emerging methods. So I hope you could participate in that one. It's going to be in November, but we already have the date, but we'd rather give you a surprise when the blurb comes out as well. So thank you. And we hope that you could be part of this too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Palis.